and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk with Encore. Today, we're going to be discussing trauma-informed care. So to begin with, did you know that 70% of people have experienced trauma in their lifetime? So with that said, it's likely most of our patients that we work with have experienced some form of trauma that impacts their current lives, their day-to-day routines, as well as interactions with others. Well, we as clinicians have the ability to make therapy a more positive experience for each and every one of our patients. And I wanted to kind of start out with, I think that Becky, if I'm not mistaken, you might have some examples of how trauma can impact therapy.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because we have the ability as therapists to, and we always try to have a really good rapport with our patients to really make it a fun and dynamic experience for them. But we can unexpectedly kind of step in the bucket, as I like to think of, where you get that wet foot and you're like, oh, I really shouldn't have gone there with that patient. And sometimes it's as simple as making them uncomfortable by talking about something they don't want to talk about or something they don't want to think about. We can really upset their moods by kind of drawing their attention back to something that was traumatic for them in the past. Or it can be even more severe when you start thinking about that true classical PTSD, where you can actually put someone back into that flashback of that bad experience and really cause some significant upset and emotional trauma for them again in that experience if you're not paying attention to what happens. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but hopefully we're going to be able to avoid that for that. And so sometimes it can be our conversation. Sometimes it can be things that are going on around us. If you think about loud noises, atmosphere of that environment. And sometimes it can even be where our hands are placed on another human being. So I can tell you, I had an experience a long time ago in college where someone grabbed me by the neck and slammed my head against something. And to this day, if someone unexpectedly touches the front of my neck, I'm going to get very upset. It's that instant flashback reaction for me. And so it's really important if someone's working with me that they don't touch the front of my neck.
So, because trauma isn't always apparent, it's important that we treat everybody like they've experienced trauma. We don't know who falls into that 70% and who does not. So, it's important that we use these principles to try to avoid putting that patient back into that trauma situation. So, the first principle is safety. We want to make sure that our gyms are warm and inviting, that they're easy to navigate. There's not clutter that would cause difficulty with exiting the room if they chose to. And with that, we also need to look at our body position. Now, if you haven't experienced trauma, this might not be something that you think about, but even placing the patient on one side of you and having the door on the other side where you're kind of blocking their exit to the door, that can feel very threatening. They can feel like they're trapped and unable to leave that space. So we really need to think about positioning, make sure that they have a clear access to the exit if they would so choose to leave, and that they know that they can leave if they want to. The second principle of trauma-informed care is peer support. So the way to do this is through shared experiences and mutual exchange. We really want to get rid of that power differential and just make sure that our residents feel that we are a part of their team. We're here for them. We are human just like they are, and we are here to try to get them to help them to succeed. And third is trustworthiness and transparency. So we really need to make sure that we're providing detail about what we plan to do for treatment or what we hope to do for treatment and why we hope to do that. So what are we trying to achieve with this treatment method? Why is it important? We always make sure that we provide full honesty when we're talking to our patients and discussing their plan of care. There should never be a reason for sugarcoating or half truths or anything like that within our treatment world. We need to make sure that we're being honest and open about what we're planning to do and why.
Definitely. Kelly, you said something really interesting that made me kind of think of speech or just group therapy, just with that peer support. So even if we're talking about, trauma-informed care, there's different aspects in how we can really address that. So to kind of elaborate on what Kelly said, we need to really make sure that we are having a collaborative approach. So that is another principle of trauma-informed care. So we as healthcare employees should be viewing our patients as partners to develop the plan of care. So, sometimes Western medicine, and I've experienced this through, the doctors that I have gone to as well. Sometimes you just kind of feel like, this doctor or therapist is just kind of cranking out patients and they're all getting like the same cookie cutter treatment. But, when I'm dealing with a specific medical issue, I don't want a cookie cutter treatment. I want somebody to talk to me about what my goals are, how I want to approach this. Maybe I don't necessarily want a pill for a condition that can be managed otherwise. So we need to kind of look at that approach as therapists as well. What is the importance to our, what are the important aspects to our patient and their caregivers? And so we can really make decisions together regarding their goals and their treatment approaches. So I think that this is really good. Kelly, you said something else that kind of struck a chord with me, is that power differential. So think of all the times in your personal lives when you have gone to the doctor and they are, seemingly a person of authority and you're going to do what they say, so you're a good patient. But really just kind of eliminating that to get back to that collaborative approach and really provide person-centered care for our treatments as we are working as healthcare professionals. So that kind of really just ties into giving our patients empowerment and choice in their treatment. So we have to recognize that every person's experience is different and unique, and they require a personalized approach. So again, asking the patient what's important to them, giving them options for treatment and seeing what course they want to pursue. So it really gives that person or patients that we're treating that sense of personal control. And if they feel invested in whatever treatment approaches you're going to provide, it really increases motivation for participation, which can obviously impact outcomes. So, if I'm invested in a therapy approach or a medical intervention that somebody is providing to me, if I'm invested in it, I have confidence in it, and I want this to be success. And then hopefully, obviously it will. And then lastly, cultural and gender issues. So we as healthcare professionals really need to move past any inequities, any stereotypes that we're bringing to the table, even if they're underlying and you have biases that you're not really aware. There are a lot of programs and courses that you can take to really help identify your own biases, even if you don't think that they even exist. So we really just need to make sure that we are kind of moving, along with everything else in the healthcare industry, that we're moving towards a model that really provides equity for healthcare for all of our patients that we're treating.
Yeah. And as you're talking, Ashley, I'm kind of thinking about that trust issue of like, if I'm someone who doesn't want to, or if I don't trust actually that person that I'm dealing with, whatever the healthcare provider's, designation is that I don't trust them. I'm not going to tell them the full story. I may not tell them what my true challenges are that I'm exhibiting or that I'm experiencing. I might not tell them certain things about my personal background that I'm not sure that I should share with them, because they're not showing me that I can trust, that they can take this information and not show bias. So certainly I think that all of this, plays a part for sure in, how we communicate as patients, and then how we as clinicians, are communicating with our patients. Getting to know our patients as individuals, it will make an incredible difference in the choices that we're making when we're deciding on activities and interventions to work on with our patients. And really knowing what might trigger a negative response, it's going to impact our patients' progression toward, achieving their goals and keeping them on track to really getting to be able to get back to doing the things that they like to do and really leading those very, active and fulfilling lives. So I do want to thank everyone for joining us today to listen in on trauma-informed care and how clinicians can make therapy treatment sessions an enjoyable experience for everyone. Well, we look forward to having you tune in again for our next episode of Coffee Talk with Encore.